waiting to see if a new stimulus bill came out and became law. All right. Well, that's probably going to happen this week, everyone, because the Senate approved it as of Friday of last week or over the weekend. It went back to the House waiting for their signature and then on to President Biden for his signature. So that'll probably happen by Friday. And then I suspect the IRS is going to extend the 1040 deadline until either June 15th, probably, and maybe July 15th. Although every time I say this, some accountant will send me the latest blurb from the IRS saying they have no intention to extend the filing season. But I'm just telling you, I've been around long enough that I kind of suspect that's going to happen. Now, for those of us that are S corporation or partnership LLCs, the deadline is next week, everybody, March 15th, and they did not extend that last year, so I don't think they're going to extend that this year. And I'm looking at 5, that was that yellow sticker, Christy, you asked me about earlier. I got 5 S corporations that are due on the 15th next week, and I got to get them done. It's as simple as that. Okay, what else? Now, let's talk about what's in this new stimulus bill that's going to become law within a week. I suspect, Christy, and you may want to think about getting this out as an advertisement for the end of the month, but the new stimulus bill, everybody, has a specific provision in it that anybody that received unemployment compensation in 2020, everybody, unemployment, that the first $10,200 will be tax-free. And that's retroactive back to 2020. And everybody, already accountants are just mad as you know what. I was talking to one accountant that's already done 146 returns with clients who had unemployment compensation, Christy. And now Congress in this new law is going to say that the first 10,200 is tax-free. So all of you wait to do your returns until you hear from me at the end of the month, especially if you did receive unemployment compensation. And then if you did have your return done already, because they opened it up on February the 12th, so that's basically hardly a month past. If you've already filed your return and you ended up paying tax on the unemployment compensation, you'll be able to file amended returns to go back and take 10,200 out of your income. Everybody, that's really, really good news, okay? Now, the next thing I want to tell you about is, everybody, we have a brand new PPP loan program. And I want all of you to listen to me on this because this thing started basically March 27th of 2020, has seen multiple facelifts in the last 9-10 months, and got another facelift on December 27th and got another facelift on March the 3rd of 2021. So let me tell you what's going on. All of you, and Christy, I don't know whether I've done PPP webinars for you in Nebraska last year or not, or whether you've been on any of my webinars for CRS RRC that Dale Carlton and I did. But let me tell you what, everybody, I'm just telling you right off the bat, if you did not get a PPP loan in 2020, you made a mistake, all right? And the reason for that is that this money, everyone, is almost in 100% of the cases totally forgiven. What does that mean? You don't have to pay it back, right? And furthermore, the business expenses that you pay with a PPP loan, in most cases, are fully deductible. Now, a lot of you probably did not want to get a PPP loan last year because of the word loan, right? Well, then everybody, as the year ensued, then we found out that most people would not have to pay the loan back. Therefore, it does not really become a loan, everybody. And I'm not going to use the word grant. Some of you would like to use that word. That's probably a correct word. But basically, the PPP loan does not have to be paid back. Now, why am I mentioning this to you right now? Because everybody, on December 27th of 2020, Congress, SBA, and Treasury opened up the PPP loan program again, meaning if you did not get a PPP loan last year, Now you can apply by March 31st. Christy, by March 31st, you can apply for a PPP loan for last year, all right? And then secondly, if your gross receipts in 2020 went down by 25% or more in any quarter compared to the same quarter in 19, you can actually go get a second PPP loan. So, but let me tell you what, and I want to open this up to questions. I've got 3 questions right now, but literally all your instructor has been doing for about the last 10 months, everybody, I have done hundreds of PPP loan webinars. I have spoken to a total of over 10,000 people, and I'll never know the number, but I feel very comfortable. And I've put over $100 million in people's hands, everybody, through my webinars in PPP loans in the last 10 months. And the program is alive and well right now. Now, before I take any question, I want to say one more thing. The newest iteration of the PPP program occurred on March the 3rd, everybody. So what, just hardly 6-7 days ago. And here's what the newest iteration says. If you haven't applied for a PPP loan yet, right, you can now go and apply based on your gross receipts, your commission income compared to your net profit. So everybody, your gross commission income is always going to be a higher number than your net profit, right? So people that didn't apply last year because their net profit was really low, right, are now looking at this and going, wow, I can file for a PPP loan based on my gross commission income. And that's pretty cool. And everybody, I'm going to show you real quickly. I've got a file of this many PPP loans right here, right, that I've just processed in the last 2 days from realtors, primarily from as far as California, as far north as Minnesota, as far west as West Virginia, or east as far as West Virginia. So everybody, I'm going to the questions now just to see what you're asking. Okay, so, okay, happy anniversary, baby. All right, so the first 3 are all congratulations anniversary. All right, now, I'll never mention the person's name, okay, in the question, and I'm reading. If you are a brand new agent starting in January of 2020, everybody, so far so good, you must be able to prove you're in business on February 15th of 2020. That's the criteria. You must have been in business on February 15th of 2020. So you're a brand new agent starting in January of 2020. You were told that you did not have realty income in 19, so you were not eligible. Is that the way you see it as well? Or now do we have income for 2020? Are we eligible to now apply? Everyone, there are special rules for new businesses, all right? So if this person would want to give me a call after this webinar, you're welcome to. Christy, I'll give you the phone number before we're done, but I can run that person through the rules. Anybody else want to talk, everybody? Any specific questions? I mean, I would tell you that this is one of the hottest issues going on. And let me give you a real good example. A very good friend of mine, and Christy knows who this person is, and she's in California. Okay, so Christy, you know darn good well who I'm talking about. She did not apply for a PPP loan, everybody, because she just never got around to it. I mean, she listened to me do a dozen of these webinars, but for whatever the reason, she just never got around it. So I forced her to send me her information for 19 and 20. And after we're done today, I'm going to file for her here in my town, Champaign-Urbana, Illinois. And Christy, she's going to get a loan for about $11,000. All right. Now, everybody, one more time. This is not really a loan. It's a PPP loan that ends up not having to be paid back. It doesn't go in your credit, everyone. It's just fantastic. So I'm not going to go any further than anybody wants me to go. Any questions? Anybody want to talk? I mean, Christy, I'd love for you to do a poll that you can see do you know how to run a poll, Christy? Christy?
I'm here.
Do you know how to,
I don't know. What do you mean to do? Let me figure it out.
No. If you don't know how, I'm not going to put you up to it. All right.
Okay.
But I would love to know of roughly the 54 people on this call, how many have gotten a PPP loan. That would what I'd love to have. All right. But I don't want anybody to identify themselves. Okay. Now, next question. I file my taxes quarterly, and I've already filed an end of year 2020. And what I'm assuming this person is saying is they have filed their 2020 tax return. All right. Can they still apply for a PPP loan? And everybody, now, first of all, I got to make an assumption. Assume with me that a lot of you did not apply for a PPP loan last year because you didn't know about it or you were worried about the word loan and things like that. And now you know you can, all right, until March 31st. So to answer this person that wrote this question, if they have not applied for a PPP loan last year, is the door open, everybody, to apply now based on last year? And the answer is yes, it is. All right. And you're missing free government money is what you're doing. And I can't lay that out any simpler than that. All right. Now, another person is saying, I did on the first round. So here's a person, everybody. She got a loan the first time, last time, and now it's already been approved to be forgiven. So let me tell you this, everybody. Here's a person asking a question. So they got a loan last year, all right, which is really good. Don't care how much it was. And they've already applied to have it forgiven. So the 100% of it was forgiven. Everybody, they got this money and then they applied to have it forgiven so they don't owe it. Is this a great country or what? It's not taxable income, right? It's not taxable income. Everybody, this is just having your cake and eating it too. Now, this particular young woman is asking me a question. Can she apply again? All right. So everybody, she got a loan last year and now she's asked me, can she apply again? And the answer is maybe. And now listen to the maybe. If she can show that her gross receipts in any quarter of 2020 went down by 25% or more compared to the same quarter in 19, she can apply for a second draw PPP loan. Answer is yes. And let me give an example, everybody. The quarter when you would have suffered, in my opinion, is the second quarter. All right. April, May, June. Everybody shake your head yes if you agree with me on this. I mean, everybody, that's when this thing just blew up and everybody was staying home. And my gross receipts, everybody, because 19 seminars scheduled for April, May, or June of 2020 canceled, right? And about a third of them went to webinars, all right? But the other 16 canceled, deferred, whatever. My gross receipts went down, Christy, by 56% in the second quarter of 2020 compared to the same quarter in 19. So I'm telling you, everybody, that you need to take a look at your gross receipts. And even if you got a PPP loan last year, if your gross receipts dropped by 25% or more, any quarter of 2020 compared to the same quarter of 19, you can go back to the well again. The loan will be the same amount in most cases. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. All right. And everybody, I'm getting a response. Thank you, Christy. Did you apply for a PPP loan? 42% of you have, everybody, and 58% said no. And everybody, I'm talking to the no's. All right. I'm talking to the majority of you on this call where you are missing government money. Now, let me tell you this. Some of you might have the position or opinion that, well, you don't need the money. All right. And everybody, I will tell you this, you don't know any better than I do how we're going to be looking toward the end of this year, next year, everybody. I mean, you know, all the signs are good. I mean, people are getting shots and things like this and things are reopening. But, you know, we get this UK strain, we get this African strain, everybody, we could go back into the toilet real quick. So I challenge you on the thinking that maybe you don't think you need the loan. Okay, so here we go. Another question. I received, oh, by the way, I just don't want to skip any. I got a bunch coming in here. And Christy, don't let me spend too much time on this if you think I am, but I just think this is a big thing to talk about. But if some people comment to you that I'm spending too much time, I'll move off on it. Okay, so here's a person asking me, I took out an SBA loan, everybody. That's the SBA loan of anywhere from $10,000 to $260,000 bucks, but not a PPP loan. I thought the PPP loan was only for businesses with employees. Everybody, that is so huge of a point, okay? Now I'm going to read it again. I thought the PPP loan was only for a business with employees. Wrong. When you are self-employed, you are considered to be your own employee for this loan purpose. So everybody, a bunch of you are sole proprietors filing Schedule C with no employees. Do you still qualify for a PPP loan, everybody? Yes, yes, yes. I have personally filed probably 500 or 600 of those PPP loans for people all over the country in the last year. And that is the greatest misunderstanding about this program. You don't have to have W-2 employees to qualify for the PPP program. And I know it doesn't sound right, everybody, but I know what I'm talking about here. I won't use the word expert, all right, but I know what I'm talking about here. And there's money out there for the 58% of you that have not done it yet. Great. Can I call you after to get more details? Yeah, you can, everybody. Here's my phone number, just so Christy doesn't have to worry about it. 217-649-3934. 217-649-3934. Now, have mercy on me. I've got a webinar for about 200 accountants today at 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock on the brand new twist of March the 3rd, everybody, which new forms, things like that. But maybe wait till tomorrow morning. I'll be more than happy to talk to you. All right. What forms or paperwork do you need to apply for the PPP loan? Okay, everybody, there are 4 different sets of forms. And that's why I'm talking to over 100 accountants today at 1 o'clock to tell them what form they must use. But here are the 4 forms. Okay, just hear me out if you would real quickly if you're going to write this down. All right. And Christy, I want you to make another poll. And then Christy, do another poll for me. How many will follow up with my advice on the PPP program? That's what I'd love to know. So the forms you need, everybody, are one of the 4 following forms. Form 2483. And that form is for the majority of you that could have got a loan last year that didn't. Okay. The second form is Form 2483-SD. S is in second, D is in draw. That form is for those of you that got a loan last year, but qualify for a second draw loan in 21 because your gross receipts dropped by 25% or more in any quarter of 20 versus the same quarter in 19. The third form is Form 2483C-C, and that is for people that did not get a loan last year, that know they missed it, and want to apply based on their gross receipts instead of their net profit. And the fourth form, everybody, I know this is confusing to lots of some of you, but that's why I'm on the horn 2 hours a day talking to a group of accountants about this. The fourth form is Form 2483-SD, second draw, -C, as in Schedule C. And that is for people who got a loan last year, who now qualify because their gross receipts went down by 25% or more, et cetera, all right, and want to use gross receipts, gross commission income instead of net profit. It's one of those forms, but not more than one of those forms. And they're very easily filled out, although I would recommend you get some help from your accountant or somebody. So everybody, I love this. Thank you, Christy. How many will follow up with Chris's PPP advice to apply for a loan? Me, or not me? All right. And I'm not challenging you about it. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. All right. And Christy, what's the response?
We have 73% saying me, and 28% saying not me.
And therefore, everybody, in my opinion, this webinar is well worth our time. All right. What else? Okay, so I just went through the forms. Let me see what else I've got. All right. I received unemployment in 2020, but did not apply for PPP loan. Can I still apply for PPP loan? Answer, yes, you can. All right. The answer is yes, you can. Can you have your cake and eat it too, everybody? Yes, you can. And to this person, remember the first 10,200 of your unemployment in 2020 is tax-free. What if you didn't apply? Another question. What if you didn't apply for PPP last year and moved in August of 2020 to a different state and got a real estate license in that state and haven't done any business in that state, but still doing business in Omaha? Everybody, that's a long-winded question, but the answer is still yes, yes, yes. All right. Here's a person that took a $60,000 hit in 2020, and you're saying 20% in each quarter. You've still got to be able to show everybody in order to get a second draw loan. Okay. So if this person got a loan in 2020, that's called first draw. All right. They cannot get a second draw unless they can prove in any quarter that it went down by 25% or more compared to the same quarter 19. But if this person who took the $60,000 hit did not get a loan last year, they can now apply using Form 2483 to get a first draw loan for last year. No problem. All right. What if you are a professional corporation and part of an LLC? Everyone, regardless, I mean, it gets more complicated, but I'm an S corporation, everyone, and my S corporation got the PPP first draw last year. And because my gross receipts dropped by 25% or more in the second quarter of 2020, I got a second draw. So it means more forms, but there's no negativity to the point of being a professional corporation or even an LLC. You say, okay, I love this, and to the gentleman that making this comment, you say it's free government money, but it's still our tax money, and I totally understand where you're coming from. Everybody, we're all going to pay this back one way or the other in form of higher taxes and things like this. All right, but I still will say this. I mean, I've got a client I'm working up right now, right? To go with me on this, all right? I've got a client from California who emailed me his stuff yesterday. His 2019 net profit was $638,000, all right? He's an accountant, all right? His wife, who is a financial advisor, her profit was over $200,000, all right? Now, you would think, why would they need a PPP loan? And they qualify for over $50,000, about $51,000. And everyone, the question you have to put your initials to on the application reads like this. Current economic uncertainty makes the request for this loan necessary. All right, everybody, here's the deal. I make every client that I help with this read that out loud twice. All right, and only they can initial it, not me. And I give them no input, everybody. But I would tell you to the fine gentleman asking me that question, I've yet to have one person not fill in that line because nobody knows how uncertain this thing is right now and where we're going down the line. So to the person saying it's government money, but it's our taxes, you better believe I realize that. And we're all going to end up paying this back one way or the other. All right. I did not take out a loan last year. Gross receipts for 2020 were up each quarter versus 2019. Am I eligible? The answer is you better believe you are. All right. You would use Form 2483. What forms do you have to send in when filling out the form or filing for the PPP? It's not PPPE, but it's PPE. Everybody, you have to submit a copy of your tax returns, and the lender who will help you with this, or the accountant that will help you with this, there are ample SBA rules to tell you what you have to provide. For example, generally it's your Schedule C for either 2019 or 2020. If you have employees, it's a copy of their W-2. Maybe the bank will ask for the full tax return. Banks differ on this. And I will tell you one more thing, everybody, and then I'll be done with this. The PPP loan comes from your local lenders, who then submit it to the SBA for approval. But you do not go to the SBA or the internet SBA for your PPP loan. You go to a Omaha, Lincoln, Kearney, whatever lender that is going to loan you this PPP loan. One more question. Can you file for PPP for each license you have? For example, everybody, all right? Let's say that you have a plumbing business, Schedule C, and a real estate Schedule C. The answer is yes, you can, all right? But they're going to limit you on how much you can get, everyone, based on whether you've got employees or not. And you never can take into account for yourself more than $100,000 profit, which works out to exactly a PPP loan of $20,833. So everybody, this is fascinating, and I hope I've answered your questions. You're welcome to jump in with more, but I hope you take advantage of what I've said. All right, let's get off PPP. Let's talk about something else. Everyone, in the tax bill included in the Consolidated Appropriations Act of December 27th, entertainment expenses, everybody, and I've got ahead of myself. Let me correct myself. Entertainment is still 0% deductible. I'm going to be hitting this hard at the end of the month when I talk to you all day. But in the Consolidated Appropriations Act of December 27th, Congress changed the law. Business meal expenses provided by a restaurant are now 100% deductible. Now, unfortunately, the law is for 2021 and 2022, not 2020, retroactive to last year. But business meals have always been 50% deductible. But for 21 and 22, they are 100% deductible if provided by a restaurant, everybody, which could be a country club, everybody, could be McDonald's, could be Hardee's, could be Cracker Barrel. I mean, just anything that provides food like that, all right? So you need to know that. Okay, now, there's a couple of credits that we need to talk about. So everyone, when we started in on this, I'm trying to find a gentleman that was talking about this earlier, but a lot of accountants are not aware of what I'm going to tell you next, all right? And that is, the majority of you are sole proprietors, right? Maybe some of you even have employees if you've got a team that you've built, something like that. And a few of you may be S corporations, all right? And here's the deal, COVID-19. So if you were a sole proprietor last year, all right, and you had to self-quarantine everyone because of doctor's orders, because you had been around somebody that tested positive, or you were symptomatic, all right, or you tested positive yourself, or you were symptomatic, there is a tax credit for the time that you were not able to do your real estate duties, all right? And I'll give an example. In the office in Champaign-Urbana, where Kay and I have our licenses hung, COVID swept through everybody. One turkey went to a Halloween party for their kids, over 100 people there in October, and came in COVID-19, and just 15 people, Christy, in the office tested positive, various degrees of illness. One of my clients specifically, everybody had the full dose, no hospitalization, but loss of sense of smell, taste, everybody, lightheaded, weak, exhausted. And literally, he was in that condition for over 11 days, all right? And then everybody, he got better and went back to work. And the point is, this credit is called the Sick and Family Leave Credit. And it clearly applies to those of you that have employees that you paid wages to, right? But it also applies to self-employed people, everyone, because once again, you are considered your own employee for this rule. So nobody knows about this, but I'm talking about it, and it is really a worthwhile thing to look into. And let me give an example, everybody. Christy, just to give you a good example that people can relate to. Everybody, let's say that Christy became symptomatic, all right? And her doctor said, you stay home for 6 days minimum, all right? Well, but let me guarantee you what would happen, everybody. I would guarantee you that Nebraska realtors would continue Christy's pay in that 6-day period. Christy, shake your head if you agree with me. They would continue your pay. Everybody, Nebraska realtors gets a tax credit for continuing her pay while she was off because of COVID, everybody. And it's called the sick and family leave credit. And it does not mean that Christy had to be deathly ill, everybody. It does not mean she had to be hospitalized. It just has to be something like she's home because the doctor said you're symptomatic, stay home for 6 days so you don't spread this thing. Or everyone, or Christy's got a child whose daycare was closed because of COVID, or whose school was closed because of COVID. So I'm just trying to tell you that nobody's talking about this stuff, and it's bigger than life, everybody. I mean, yours truly, my hairdresser, and really my wife's hairdresser, and she does less work on me every year, if you get my drift, all right? But on a Monday in December, everybody, early December, my wife and I are both there for a couple hours. She called us Tuesday and said, I'm positive, just test positive. It ran through the salon. All right. We called our doctor and he said, you guys stay home 5 to 6 days. On my orders, he sent us an email verifying that, everybody. We qualified for the sick and family leave credit. So talk to your accountants about this. And if they give you the look of what, all right, don't be surprised, everybody, because a lot of accountants are just not really aware of this.
How much is it, Chris?
Questions? Oh, well, the credit is dependent on why you're off. Okay, for example, if you're off because you yourself tested positive, everybody, or were symptomatic, etc., right? The credit can be your full rate of pay per day, up to $511 per day, for a total of 10 days. Everybody, so the quarantine's 14 days. They consider 10 days of that 80 hours to be work days. The other 4 days are weekend days. So literally, Christy, the credit at its best could be $5,110. And that's based on somebody making 130 grand a year. Now, if somebody made 65 grand a year, that tax credit would be about half of that, Christy, and that's how it works. Now, if you're not off because you yourself have been diagnosed or you're symptomatic, but you're home because of taking care of a child, everybody, because of daycare closed or child or school closings, and a lot of that happened, all right? Then the credit is 2/3 of your daily rate of pay or profit. Maximized at $200 a day for 10 days, 80 hours, is a $2,000 credit. So, everybody, I know I'm talking like it's a foreign language to you, but COVID has turned this country and the world on its ear, and it's turned the tax code on its ear as well, with PPP, everybody, sick and family leave credit, and a host of other things as well. So anyway, I hope, and I'm not getting any questions in the chat.
Yeah, we have one. We have Mitzi's raised her hand, so I don't know if you want to unmute Mitzi and go ahead and ask Chris your question. You did. You need to unmute. There you go.
Hit me, Mitzi.
I'm sorry. Okay. Hi. Hey, all right. So what if you had a quadruple bypass in February of last year, which within, a month, 6 weeks, I could have gone back to work. But because of the COVID, and me being at high risk, how does that affect the sick and family leave credit? Would that be the same?
You know, that's an interesting question, and it's respect the fact, everybody, that if I'm not sure of an answer, I'm going to tell you I'm not sure. But clearly there were extenuating circumstances, Missy, that kept you from going back to work. All right, but again, it's not any of those specific categories that I gave you, where you were symptomatic, or you tested positive, things like that. So my gut is no. Okay.
Okay.
That's my initial reaction. Now,
Perfect.
there's another,
Thank
I
you.
do have a couple of questions. Oh, you're welcome. What if you do not have doctor's orders? Well, doctor's orders are the best thing, everybody, but the actual regulations say a medical provider. All right. So by this could be a nurse in your doctor's office. But it doesn't have to be that. I mean, if you tested positive, for example, we had a gentleman on the phone when we first started. I don't see his name right now, but everybody, he's on quarantine, Christy, if you remember this, until Friday of this week. So he's a person, everybody, that he was in contact with somebody, and he has to stay put until the Friday of this week. And he would qualify for this because this sick and family leave credit was extended initially through March 31st of 2021, but the new law that's going to be signed by this Friday most likely will extend it further on. So, you don't have to necessarily be prescribed by a medical provider to stay home if other extenuating circumstances say, you were near a person that tested positive, or you think you're symptomatic, something like that. But always a doctor's email would be the best proof. All right. Anybody else on that? All right. Very good. Well, everybody, let's talk about some other things. So, I'm kind of the tax guy of CRS and RRC. And at the end of the month, I'm bringing you two very much updated courses on tax write-offs for the real estate professional. We'll be talking about PPP a little bit again. And I'm also going to do a session on financial planning issues as well. And those courses, Christy, if I'm not mistaken, are accredited for CE, things like that. And that's really good. So what we've had, everybody, over the last 3 years, the Tax Cut and Jobs Act came about at the end of 17, first effective in 18. And it really just changed the way a return looks. For example, I've been talking to you about for a couple of years now about that wonderful 20% qualified business income deduction, that 20% of your profit. And it's been around for at least 2 years now. So I'm not even worried that your accountant knew about it, because their software would not allow them to ignore it. So that was a big thing in the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. And then you've heard me for years talk about the heavy SUV deduction and the pickup truck deduction. Those deductions are still with us, and they're even better than they were in previous years. So we're going to be hitting that at the end of the month. Retirement savings, everybody. I mean, I hope all of you are putting money away for retirement, whether it be rental property, whether it be a SEP IRA, everybody, whether it be a 401k for the self-employed. I want to bring you up to speed on the latest contribution limits for those things. I mean, there's just so many things to talk about, and we'll be doing this at the end of the month. So everybody, I'm totally willing to open this up to just general tax questions for the next 10 or 15 minutes, just to give all of you a chance to have your say or get your question answered if you would like. All right. So Christy, I'd like to open it up, and you're welcome to raise your hand. Christy, you'll get to it if you want to.
We do have a question in the chat box, Chris. Oh, no, it's just to me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
This question is, this is going back to the beginning of this Zoom, but with the unemployment tax forgiveness up to $10,200, what if you had taxes taken out of those checks as you receive them? Will that come back as a credit in taxes?
I will. So if you had what Christy's asking about, if you had withholding taken out of your unemployment, which not a bad idea to do, and now you find that the first $10,200 is tax-free, then those withholdings, everybody, are going to go against anything else you might owe, and should increase your refund. If you already got a refund, it's going to increase your refund of the withholdings on that first $10,200. So yes, it's not gone, is the point, ever. It's not gone. Christy.
Okay, we have another one. Pickup truck deductions.
Well, number one, don't forget, everybody, that you get a choice between the standard mileage rate, which last year was 57.5 cents a mile. I'll be talking about that again. This year in 2021 is 56 cents a mile. And the big deductions, everybody, still go with the heavy SUV over 6,000 pounds. No law change, just a larger amount. And the pickup truck, everybody, with a gross vehicle weight of over 6,000 pounds as well. But I would tell you something that a lot of realtors are finding interesting in 2020. Everybody, hear me out on this if you would. And this surely impacted your instructor. I have for years, all right, claimed the standard mileage rate. Why? Because I drive 33,000 business miles a year. Well, now let's talk about 2020. In 2020, I drove about 9,500 business miles, Christy, right? Compared to 30 to 33,000. And how's this for timing? Let me get rid of this. I'm not going to answer it. Pardon me. All right. And on March 15th, let's talk about timing, everybody. I took delivery of an SUV, new, right, which wasn't heavy enough to qualify for the big write-off, but I knew that when I ordered it, all right? But talk about March 15th, take delivery of a new vehicle for business, everyone. And then I drove it 9,500 miles. So for the first time in my career, because of the lower mileage, I actually am depreciating this SUV over 5 years. And why did I make that choice, everybody? Because the deduction for depreciating that vehicle over 5 years was about double the deduction for claiming the standard mileage rate on 9,500 miles at 57.5 cents a mile. So, a lot of you are going to maybe realize something, everybody, that even if your gross receipts were down in 2020, you may find that your net profit is actually up because you spent less money on some things in 2020 that you ordinarily would have spent money on. And the answer to that is that when your accountant's done with it, how it looks. But so far on the realtors' returns that I've done, they are pleasantly surprised, everybody, even in some of a down year on commissions, their profit doesn't look so bad. Christy.
Okay, the next, and you might have already answered this. Does a vehicle have to be an SUV or would a truck qualify?
Well, for the big write-off, everybody, it either has to be a heavy SUV, sport utility vehicle, or a pickup truck, all right? And in both cases, the gross vehicle weight rating has to exceed 6,000 pounds. So 6,001 or more is good. 6,000 or less is not good. So the vehicle I bought, everybody, had a gross vehicle weight of about 5,400 pounds, all right? Gross vehicle SUV, and didn't qualify for the first year write-off. But I knew that when I bought it, never intended to claim it in the first place. Christy.
Okay, any substantial non-COVID tax changes for 2020 taxes that we should know about before we file?
It's not that many, everybody. That's why I try to cover the big ones that I thought you'd want to know. But they didn't get around to many tax law changes in 2020 because of COVID and all the other things like PPP, everybody, the employee retention credit. But the same normal business deduction rules apply. And I've tried to hit the ones that are kind of different this year. So other than what I've talked about, no. I do see a question, Christy, should I put my vehicle in a corporation or does it matter? And, everybody, just back to my own world, that SUV that I bought in 2020, March 15th, all right, is in my own personal name, all right? And I'm depreciating it in my corporation, even though my corporation doesn't own it. And the bottom line is it comes back to the same schedules at the end. But if you're going to, I'm going to make this very clear. If you're going to buy the vehicle that qualifies for the heavy SUV or the pickup truck deduction over 6,000 pounds in both cases, I would really recommend you buy that in the name of your corporation in order to get the big write-off. The rules are pretty clear on that, whether or not the IRS enforces them. I did a lot of research on this several years ago when I bought a pickup truck for my business. And I made sure that I bought that in the name of my corporation, and I claimed that big write-off on my S corporation return. Another question, okay, I love this one. What about a Class B motorhome? Would that qualify as a vehicle weighing over 6 tons? Well, number one, there is no 6-ton rule, everybody. The 6,000 pound, that's basically 3 tons, if I'm not mistaken, all right, I think. And I have no idea about a 6-ton rule. But what is the size of a Class B motorhome? I mean, I don't own a motorhome. Never looked at them. So somebody help me with that. What is the size of a Class B motorhome? I have no idea. Help me. Anybody?
It's actually a 3,500. It's a 3,500 Chevy chassis. It's a conversion van that's been converted into a motorhome.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Now, everyone, that's not going to be a standard vehicle that people use to drive around. I mean, that's the kind of vehicle I would assume that you take on vacation with you, something like that. And if it's the same kind of vehicle I'm thinking of, and again, I'm not familiar with the Class A, Class B, Class C, whatever. But back in Howard Brinton's day, everybody, some of you go far enough back to remember that. Howard was a big one to push the van, everybody, the moving van for the realtor. And my wife, Kay, bought one. And that was the Ford van, everybody. It was a F-350 or the E-350 van with a big box on the back, all right? And that is clearly not subject to any limitations that I'm trying to talk about with cars and SUVs, things like that. For example, Kay paid about, I think, $29,000 for that box van, all right? And used it about 99% for business. Everybody, we wrote off 99% of that van. Let me guarantee you that we did, all right? And it qualifies for the first year 179 deduction, the bonus deduction, because that's a specialty vehicle. Now, here's the problem with a motorhome, everybody. How is a motorhome used in the business of real estate all that much time? The natural inclination I would have is that motorhomes being used for vacation. I could be dead wrong on this, all right? But in an audit, I would think the IRS seeing a motorhome being written off is going to ask some very specific questions about the use of it. But let me change things a little bit. Now, everybody, in normal times, your business is you go town to town to downtown for flea markets, all right? And you have an RV, everybody, with your wares on it you sell. Well, what I'm trying to say now is that could very much lead to a higher deduction than a motorhome ordinarily used for just personal purposes. So if that person would like to come back on me, you're welcome to come back. If you want to tell me how you're using it that would qualify for business, I don't want to cut off discussion.
What if you're using it because of COVID? So it's purchased after COVID, after the pandemic started, you're able to drive clients around with the 6 feet of social distancing between people, and you're able to actually use it as a mobile office.
I like that. Okay, that's why I asked everybody. So now I have a couple of questions. Number one, if you don't mind asking, what did that cost? Just out of curiosity, what did that cost?
30,000 plus all the additional expenses.
Okay, gotcha. Now, next question. Okay, next question. I'm not addressing who's asking the question, everybody. considering 100% total use of the motorhome, not arguing with you at all, what percentage did you use it for business in 2020? What percentage did you use it for personal? Then I have one more question after that.
I'm comfortable saying that I used it for business a third of the time.
So clearly it was 2/3 personal, 1/3 business, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And may I also think that you bought it in 2020?
Right. It was purchased in May of 2020.
Very good. So here we go, everybody. Let me give you some numbers. Let us say that total cost of that vehicle, just to keep it simple, is 45 grand, $30,000 purchase price plus, all the add-ons. Everybody, what I would do if I were her accountant, I would set 15,000 of that, 1/3 of that up as a business asset, everybody, no questions asked. And then because it's not a car, because we don't have to worry about SUV over 6,000 pounds, then I would ask the person asking me this question, do you want to write the whole thing off, 15 grand in 2020, 1/3 of the 45 grand, or would you like to depreciate that slowly over 5 years, right? And that's what I would ask. But let me tell you what, I'd be writing off 1/3 of that vehicle one way or the other, plus gas, oil, tires, batteries, insurance, et cetera, et cetera. Christy.
Okay. One more question though on that. When you do
Yep.
the, so on my primary vehicle, I just do mileage and I don't do the
Yep.
oil changes and the gas and all
Yep.
that. I just take mileage. So
Yep.
on the motorhome, if I do the gas, like can I do the tires if I'm just taking mileage? Or do
Number
I-
one, you cannot do tires and mileage. You have to make a choice by vehicle. And look at my hands, everybody. It's either actual or it's standard, all right? And the only way you're going to be able to write that 15 grand off of that $45,000 cost in my example is if you claim actual and claim depreciation on that 15,000. Now, if you want to just claim mileage on that, IRS is not going to argue with you, but you cannot claim tires and batteries and washes and waxes and gas and oil if you claim mileage on that motorhome.
What about repairs?
Same thing. Same thing.
Okay.
And mileage cuts you off of everything except interest on the loan. And you need to go talk to your accountant about this. I'll almost guarantee you they'll answer you the same way I've done it.
Okay. Sounds
There
great.
is a
Thank you.
question. Oh, you're welcome. Will the 20% qualified business income deduction for pass-through entities survive? I believe was part of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. Well, it was specifically part of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. And here's what Joe Biden's administration wants to do with the qualified business income deduction, right? And this is yet to be discussed, everybody in Washington, but it was in his proposals on the stump. He wants to eliminate that deduction for anybody in this country married that makes over $400,000 taxable income on a joint return. And I would suspect, although I've not read it, that would be cut in half, everybody, for a single taxpayer to $200,000. But Katie bar the door, we're going to have a slew of tax recommendations coming down the pike. And I'm going to go over those in my material at the end of the month as part of those courses, Christy. Anybody else on our last 3 minutes?
Okay, there's one more. This gentleman was a little late getting on. It says, if this was covered, I was late. Don't need to ask. Home office with S corporation.
Well, number one, everybody, you're looking. I'm just going to watch my camera. All right, everybody. This is your instructor's home office. All right. Don't mind the rifle over there with the scope in the back of it. I'll share that to you. All right. But everyone, I am an S corporation, and this is my office in the home. And because my S corporation doesn't own my home, Kay and I do. Bless you, Christy.
Thank
The S
you.
corporation
Sorry.
cannot. You're welcome. The S corporation cannot claim an office in the home because they don't own it. But what my S corporation does is they pay me rent for this space, everyone. My S corporation pays me $1,000 a month for this space, which is the only space for only office space anywhere in the country for Chris Bird Seminars Incorporated. So my S corporation gets to deduct the 12 grand per year. I have to pick that up on my 1040, 12 grand a year. So far it's a wash. But then I can take off my ratable share, everybody, of utilities, insurance, all my supply costs, my computers, all that good stuff. So I can offset some of that 12,000 bucks. So that's how it works for an S corporation. Well, Christy, I hope everybody enjoyed this. I thought we got a lot of good information across. I want all of you to come back when I talk to you at the end of the month. What day is that, Christy? And it is the end of the month, is it not?
It is. I got you coming on Monday, March 29th.
That is my day as well. All right.
Yep.
So everybody have a good 2 or 3 weeks. And let me tell you what, if you have listened to me talking about the PPP, you get out of this room and you start thinking about that. And if you can't get help from your accountant or your lender, give me a buzz. All right. I'm more than happy to help you. All right, Christy. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for coming. Have a great day. Thank you, Chris.
My pleasure, Christy.
All right. Bye-bye.